All right, guys, this is Mr. Cubic. This is going to be your first day's lesson, which I think would be September 8th, based on the calendar with PJ's face on it behind me. So this is a test run. I'm going to post it online just because I'm going to try and post as many classes as I can online. So this is the first day's notes from the book. It's section 1.2, doing a lot of blinking. All right, so I'm going to switch over cameras, okay? And the camera that I'm going to switch over to is the Owl Pro. Okay, that's going to take a second to get fixed up. And I'm going to share a screen with you while that gets all set up. And the screen that I'm going to share is going to be desktop 2, which is over on the other computer. So I'm going to stand up and walk over there. Hopefully the Mac will follow me. Okay. All right. So we should be good. I'm not sure 100% what you're looking at, but we're going to see. This is a lot bigger than I thought it was going to be in that practice. So let me fix that up some. Okay. So I'm going to zoom this a little bit smaller while we can. Okay. Let's see here. I had view it a little bit too big. I'm going to view back down to probably 90%. See how that looks. Okay. So this again is just testing. Make sure you can hear everything. And so we go right there. And I'm going to start with annotate. Okay. All right. So the problem I want to do, and again, every day when we start our notes, we're always going to start with the date. So for you guys, I'm not sure I'm doing this on a different day than you're going to see it. So let's say you're seeing this on 9/8/2020. Okay, so you should always put the date in your notes. Very important. So that way, if you're absent, you'd be like, yeah, I don't have the dates from 9/8, and a good way to figure out. So I just wrote day 1 because it's our first day of school. The second thing you're going to find is that I go through the book pretty common. Now, unfortunately, not all your homework is going to be from the book, okay? But, right, but I will be following the book, okay? So we're doing section 1, 2. So just so you know, this little symbol is like an S on top of an S, okay? That is the section symbol. So I don't think I ever saw it when I was in middle school, so you guys are crazy ahead of where Mr. Cubic was at the time. So that's section 1, 2. We're doing 2 nights of it on A. We're doing grouping symbols, which just so you guys know is just PEMDAS. Okay? And then your homework is going to be IXL. So I asked that you have 3 things in your notes, and I am going to ask that you take notes every day, even if you're not going to look at them because you're so cool, I guess. Is that what you say? So we need to have the date. Okay. You should probably write down the topic. Okay. So here we're talking about grouping symbols. And then the last thing is you should write down the homework assignment. So I'm always going to try and include those 3 things in my notes, whether I'm doing it on the smartboard or I'm doing it on the whiteboard, or I'm doing it on the dot cam. I'm not sure which way it's going to be the best for us, but I want to make sure we understand that. So let me go ahead and clear out what I've done so far. Okay, so clear all drawings. And I want to get to this particular problem, okay? I want to get to this particular, I want to scroll up. Hold on one second, see if I can figure this out. So this particular problem, okay, it's funny. You know, you see it on TV and they're like, oh yeah, or on the internet, they're like, this broke the internet. So I'm going to give you guys, I'm going to do this twice. So the first time, I'm going to call this method A, okay? Sorry. The first time I'm going to call this method A. So we're going to say 8 divided by 2, and it's weird, it doesn't take that little dot very well, times quantity 2 plus 2. So you always rewrite the problem again. Whenever you do an assignment, and again, you're doing this online, so you're not going to have to. So everyone knows you do parentheses first, right? So please excuse my dear Aunt Sally. So I'm going to do the parentheses first. So I'm going to have 8 divided by 2 times 4, right? So now, PEMDAS, my dear, so the next thing I would do is multiplication, right? So PM, right? So 8 divided by 8, which is 1. So that would be solution A is 1. Okay? All right, so then the second time I do it, okay, I'll do it this time in green. All right, so we'll get a Christmas theme, right? So the second time I'm going to do this, okay, and again, we always start by writing the problem. 8 divided by, gosh, it doesn't like that divided by sign. 2 quantity, 2 plus 2, okay? So everyone knows you do parentheses first, right? I mean, come on, right? So it's going to be 8 divided by 2 times 4, and then multiplication and division are really the same thing, right? So 8 divided by 2 is 4 times 4 is 16. Okay, so this is something, and again, you don't see this a lot at your age, but 2 people that are both, right, they both showed all their work, right, and they've gotten 2 different answers, right? So the red guy did it and he got 1. The green guy did it and he got 16. They both showed their work. Looks pretty reasonable. So when I say this broke the internet, everyone's like, oh, you know, we found a math problem that doesn't have a solution. Well, there's many math problems that don't have solutions or that took centuries to solve. So this is not one of them. This does have a solution. Like, this particular math problem has 2 solutions. And again, I kind of find that frustrating, mostly because no math problem has 2 solutions, at least none along these lines. So rather than say I don't know anything about math, everyone's sort of like, everyone's right. So that makes me a little bit angry, just because Americans are so bad at math. So anyway, so you could say it's a poorly written problem, but only one of these 2 is correct. So you decide right now, is it A or is it B? And we'll come back at the end after I do this. So I'm going to go ahead and clear this out. All right, so I'm going to clear all drawings. Okay, you think to yourself, is it 16 or is it 1? Okay, and I'm going to scroll down now. All right, let me go ahead and get my mouse. I'm going to scroll down now to a fresh sheet of paper in our notes. And again, I'm going to try and fit all this on here. It never quite works out the way that I want it to. Okay, we'll see what happens. So I'm going to go ahead and change my color. Let's go ahead and go with this purple, right? For all you Gonzaga guys, we can do blue and gray at some point for the prep guys. So our rules here are PEMDAS. Now I'm going to write this a little differently, okay? So I'm going to write P, all right? And I want you to understand, okay, this P is 1 step, okay? So this P is 1 step. So then I'm going to write E, okay? And I'm going to write this E. Why are you doing that to me? There you go. As the second step. Then, okay, I'm going to write multiplication and division. But what I'm going to do, okay, if it lets me, okay, is I'm going to put those together. So whenever I write multiplication, I always do that. So I'm going to do write the 4 first this time. And then step 4 is addition and subtraction, okay? But again, I'm always going to write it like this. So let's start with the P, right? So the P, and please excuse my dear Aunt Sally, right, is for parentheses. P-A-R-E-N-T-H-E. And if it's 1, it's a parenthesis. But since it's 2, it's parentheses. Now, I will tell you, and you guys know this, right, that it's not just parentheses. There's other things that go here, okay? There's other things that go here. So I remember Mr. Giblin, when he taught this, right? He taught the guys that it was B PEMDAS, right? And the B stood for brackets. So just so you know, a bracket would fit in here, right? So yeah, it could be B PEMDAS, okay? Absolutely, okay? And then you say, well, what else could it be? Well, there's a few things that it could also be. And the first is, I would say an absolute value belongs here, right? So whenever you see an absolute value, I would treat it just like it was a parentheses, okay? Another thing that it could be, okay, is it could be a numerator, right? And we'll talk about this when we get to some of the examples, right? So it could be a numerator or a denominator. So a numerator or a denominator, okay? So all of these fit in here, okay? So you have brackets, you have parentheses, you have absolute value, you have numerator and denominator. And you might say, well, Mr. Kubik, right, so that one step, which I thought was just parentheses, it's actually 4 or 5 things, right? I mean, how does all that work, right? And I will tell you, it works because, right, we are going to do whichever, right, we're going to work from the inside out. So work from the inside out. Okay? All right, so I'm good with P. So let's go ahead and let's go with E. So E, I'm going to go red again, okay? E stands for exponents, okay? So exponents. All right? So when we talk about exponents, the E of exponents, okay? All right? Few things. So I would say, right, if you had like 3 squared, right, that would count as an exponent, right? It could be a fractional exponent. We don't really see those this year, but they do exist. 3 to the 1/2. I know that you guys who had Mr. Smith, you've seen like negative exponents, so 3 to the negative 4th power, right? So it doesn't matter, right? I would do this after I've done parentheses, okay? I would do this after I've done parentheses. And just so you guys know, okay, technically a square root falls in this category, okay? So I would say exponents and square roots, okay? And you say, well, how do I know which one to go first? What if a problem has 2 exponents in it? How do I know which one to do first? Okay, and I'm going to say, right, do these from left to right. So do these as you read them, right? So perform from left to right. Okay? All right, does anybody have any questions about that? I'm going to have a sip of water if I can find it somewhere in this room. Now, you know what? I'm not going to have a sip of water because I can't find it. You walk over again and see if it's over here on the floor. And this will give you guys a chance to catch up on your notes. Oh, they're there right here. Okay. I'm going to have a sip. Why is this thing not falling? I'm going to have a sip of water. Water. All right. Now, the next one is really important. And I'm going to talk to you about this a lot today. And you're going to maybe see a couple tonight. And then we're going to go a bunch of these tomorrow. So multiplication and division. Now, one thing you're going to see from me a lot this year, I mean a lot, okay? I don't think of these as 2 separate things. Multiplication and division are the same thing. So really all division is multiplying by the reciprocal, right? And we'll spend like a whole day or 2 on that, right? So, you know, when I say it's PEMDAS, it could just as easily be PEDMAS, right? Because these are the same thing, okay? These are the same thing. And because they're the same thing, they belong in the same step. Okay? So I want you guys to understand this, right? You have multiplication, right? And you have multiplication by the reciprocal. Okay? So here, when we have these two operations, even though the m comes before the d, totally arbitrary, right? It just seems like that worked out best when you went to say PEMDAS, right? So it could be PETMOS, right? It could be please excuse drunken, malicious Aunt Sally. Could be, right? Not the same flow. My dear works a little bit better. And so you say, well, how do I know what to do first? And here's the thing. We are going to perform from left to right. My handwriting just got bad. I don't know how that. I thought I was writing. I didn't go as slow. All right. And then the last thing here is addition and subtraction. I think I'll go with. Should I go with this maroon, right? The Washington football team color, burgundy. All right. So we have addition and subtraction. Okay. Addition and subtraction. All right. And again, I'm telling you right now. I mean, I do think of division as division, not quite the same. But I guess this is brown and not burgundy. Okay, these are the same step. Okay, so again, it could be PEDMSA, or it could be PEMDSA. It's just really hard to say D and then S, and then M and then S. So I think it makes more sense if I'm going to make up a word here, an acronym, that the A should come first, but it doesn't have to, right? Subtraction is truly the same thing. So really, we have two things here, right? We have addition, and we have adding the opposite. Same exact thing. Doesn't make any difference whatsoever. Okay? Well, how do I know what to do first? Right? We're going to perform. My handwriting is getting better from left to right. We'll do like a flourish. Here we go. All right. So those are our notes. Okay. And every day I'll give you some notes. And then the rest of it is just doing examples. Now, I want to go over one last thing. I want to hammer this home. And I'm going to use like this bright yellow so you can see. You might not even be able to see it. Okay. This is 4 steps. So if I had to give you these notes, I would give you a table. Okay. And I would hammer, even though there are 6 letters in PEMDAS, it's just totally misleading, right? Because, you know, it should be PESDMAS, right? Because we have square roots. Or it could be BAPSEMDAS, right? I mean, we literally could do anything. So just remember, even though it's 6 letters, it's 4 steps. Even though it's 6 letters, it's 4 steps. So this that I have here, right, if you're watching this at home and you're kind of strapped for time, right, pause it, write it down, that's a note. So now I'm going to do a few examples, and I'm actually going to erase this. I'm going to clear this. They're all drawings, okay? And now I'm going to go back, and I'm going to do, I think it's 4 problems, a couple of them have an A and a B. So let me scroll down. Wrong, you're going the wrong way, Mr. Cubic. There they are. All right, so I put numbers on. All right, so here we have 2 problems, and they're very similar, right? These are 2 very similar problems, okay? But, right, I will say, let me go with this. Now there's brown, that was burgundy. I'm going to go with this line, okay? They both have 5, 3, 2. They both have addition, okay? Now, this one, these parentheses are telling you to do 3 plus 2 first, right? PEMDAS. So here, I'm going to do 5 times 5. Where did this 5 come from, right? It's 3 plus 2. So here, I do 5 times 5. What do I do first there? Nothing to do with 5 times 5, so I think we should do 5 times 5. With a little, I'm big on circling your answers. Makes it easy for me to grade. Now here, there's the parentheses. Now, you say, well, why did this person put the parentheses? And this is, like, you guys might not do this. So this parentheses could be a few things. Maybe the original problem was 5x plus 2, and they want us to show that they substituted, okay? So these parentheses can show substitution. Maybe they were worried that if they wrote 5.3, it would do exactly what I just did, and the dot wouldn't show up, okay? But they just do this. So sometimes parentheses are a little bit like a comma in English. You just put them to make things look nice. So here, if you do this at home, first thing you would do is 5 times 3, right? You have a choice between multiplication and addition, P-E-P-D-N-T. Okay, so we do this. And then all I'm left with is this addition. Okay, so my answer is 17. So again, one thing for you guys to see as I'm going over this, okay, everything's the same. They both have a plus. They both have a set of parentheses. They both have the same 3 numbers, 5, 3, and 2. Here, they wanted us to do the multiplication first. Here, we do here we do the addition first. Here, we do the multiplication first, right? 2 different answers, little things make a difference. Okay, so let me again clear. We're all drawing, go back to the mouse. We've got 3 more problems, and then we're going to go back to when we started with it. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and scroll down. Scroll down. Scroll down. Why aren't you scrolling? Okay, now, here's number 2. Now, we talked about this for a second. All right, so every time I do one of these, okay, we're going to get some colors here. Every time I do one of these, okay, this numerator, it's not written, okay? It is in parentheses. So there is an unspoken parentheses on every numerator and every denominator. So really, when you see this, it's parentheses 9 plus 6 over parentheses 7 minus 2. So you could say that that is a tacit parentheses. So in other words, everyone understands they're there, but we don't say it. So tacit is quiet, like unspoken, right? You could also say it's understood. Okay, so they're just understood parentheses. They're there. Okay, and it's just really important you know they're there. You didn't write them. They're never going to write them. Okay, so the actual word, and a lot of times you'll hear me use Mr. Cubic words to help you remember. The actual word here is nested, right? So that is a nested, right? The numerator is nested. It's nested in its own little parentheses. Okay, so whenever something is in parentheses here, right, it's nested. Okay, so I always draw a little nest, right? And then we could draw, right, Woodstock. I don't know if you're familiar with Snoopy, but there's a little bird that Snoopy hangs out with, okay? Woodstock, right? And he will come. If you go into his nest, he will peck your eyes out. Okay, so how would I solve this then? Well, again, I would do parentheses from left to right. I'll go back to Limey. I do parentheses from left to right, or from inside out. Well, here I'd go top to bottom. So 9 plus 6 is 15. 7 minus 2 is 5. Technically, I just did 2 steps in one. Okay, so my answer here is 3. And this is just an important thing. You can't touch things in the nest. You have to resolve what's in the nest. You have to do those parentheses first. So a lot of times, right, people will be like, oh, well, I would cancel this 2 off of this 6. No, right? It's in the nest. You can't touch things in the nest. You can't. Okay, very good. All right, so I'm going to clear all my drawings, clear my wood stock. I'm going to go back to the mouse. So I have 2 more to do, and I'm going to tell you a little story about each of these. Okay, so I'm scrolling down, scrolling down, scrolling down. Oh, this one's going to be easy. Let me see if there's, is there 5? Don't be 5, don't be 5. All right, so there's 3 more of these. All right, so here we go. And again, I'm going to pick up the pace a little bit. So you do, what do I do first? 8 times 2 or 3 plus 8? And I was like, oh, well, 3 plus 8 comes first, right? But you're really saying, what do I do first? Addition or multiplication, right? So please excuse parentheses, exponents, multiplication, division comes next. So I would do this right here next. Okay? So this is the whole thing about PEMDAS. I have 2 operations. How do I know which one to do first? Right? I do all multiplication before I do any addition and subtraction. Okay? So when I go to show my work, I would say 3 plus 16. Then I would do 3 plus 16, which is 19. Ring my answer, right? 3D that joint if you want. You don't have to 3D it. That's a personal preference. All right, questions on this guy? Phantom audience that isn't here? All right, so I'm going to clear it again, clear all drawing. Now the next one is the one I have a good story about. Go back to my mouse, scroll down, scroll down, scroll down. Oh God, I got a great story about this. You said, Mr. Kubik, how do you have a story about a math problem? I do, brother. So I taught at Gonzaga, and I caught this. I gave this problem, and so I gave this problem, and everyone sees this. And I taught like 80 kids. I caught like 40 of them with this, right? It was like, I don't know if it was a quiz or homework. So it's 8 minus 3 plus 2, and they see this, right? And they're like, okay, right? Sorry, I thought I won. And then they see this, so they're like, all right, PEMDAS, parentheses, nope. Exponent, no. Multiplication, no. Division, no. Addition, yes. So they said 8 minus 5, and then the last thing is subtraction, and they said 3. And I'm not kidding, I caught the whole class, right? That's wrong. Okay? And what a lot of guys forgot was that this addition and subtraction are the same step. Okay? The addition and subtraction are the same step. So even though, right, the A comes first, I do them as I see them. I go from left to right. So the first thing I should do is 8 minus 3, which is 5, plus 2, which is 7. So the answer is not 3, the answer is 7. I was teaching seniors at Gonzaga, and I just kind of gave it as a gimme, and I ended up catching like half of them. So, you know, and then I was showing that to modern day guys, and I'm like, yeah, a bunch of seniors at Gonzaga made that mistake. And they're all just like, oh, right? And a bunch of like prep guys are like, oh, Gonzaga, they make that mistake, right? So I'm like, all right, you guys understand their mistake, right? They thought addition and subtraction are the same step, right? And they did this. So then the modern day guys were all like, yes, I understand, Mr. Kubik, we got you, we got you. So then, right, the modern day test comes up, and they're like 16 divided by 2 times 4, right? Please excuse my multiplication. So first you do this, and you get 16 divided by 2, right? Times 4, excuse me, let me go ahead and erase that. Right? Times divided by 8, right? Which is 2. And I'm like, no. Right? You can't make fun of anyone, you jerk, right? That's why we should never make fun of people. There's always somebody smarter than you, and you make mistakes, right? So I don't want him to make fun of me. I want to learn, okay? And the problem is multiplication and division are the same thing. So it doesn't matter, right, that the division is first and the multiplication is second. They're the same thing. So how do I do it, right? From left to right. So here I would do 16 divided by 2 is 8. Times 4 is 32. Circle it. 3D it. Shadows. Flex. Dog ball. All right. If you have any questions, again, I know no one's here. I'm asking that to an empty room, so please forgive me for being weird. Okay, so I'm going to go back to the mouse. I don't know if I can I scroll this? All right, so I'm going to go ahead and use my mouse, and then this is the last example, I promise. And I think my lesson's probably too long already, but I'm going to look at it. All right, so last one here. All right, so I chose this one because there's a bunch of parentheses, right? So I have addition and subtraction, and you're like, well, can I go left from right? And the answer is no. Okay. God. I'll use that like sky blue. Hues. All right, so how do I do this? So there's two sets of parentheses. Okay. So I don't know if you remember, it's back from the notes. I work from the inside out. Okay. So the first thing I would do is the inner parentheses. You guys see how this is like the dollhouse that's inside of the big house, right? So like the Russian dolls. This one is inside the other one. So I do the innermost one first. So again, if I was showing my work, which I always do because I'm awesome, it'd be 7 times, and then we read this quantity. Okay, might as well put that in your notes. Whenever you see parentheses, you'll hear me say quantity, right? 5. And then instead of this 3 minus 2, I would do the 3 minus 2, which is 1. So now I went from 2 sets of parentheses to 1. So now I get 7 plus 5 minus 1 is 4. 7 plus 4 is 11. And that'd be the answer. So hopefully you understand what that means. I just wanted to give you an example of what I meant from the inside out. Okay? And again, brackets could be in there and a lot of other things. So I'm going to go back, right? And I don't know whether you're an A or a B guy, but hopefully now you know, right, what the correct answer is. Let me go ahead and scroll down before I end this because you guys are awesome. Nope. Let's see here. All right, so I come. Step 1, I'm going to do in this purplish color. Right? What do you do first? Please excuse my. First, I do the parentheses. It's almost like the parentheses are a red herring, right? Because they make you think that you're smarter. Like, why is everyone missing this? They clearly don't know how to do the parentheses, right? But really, everyone gets the parentheses right. So this should look familiar. 8 divided by 2 times 4. What do I do next? That's how you all sound to me in my ear, right? So if you're an A guy, you did the 2 times 4 first because the M comes before the D. Okay? If you're a B guy, you just went from left to right. Well, again, I tried to hammer this home. Multiplication and division are the same step. I take care of them from left to right. So the next thing I would do is that 8 divided by 2. And see how I put my own parentheses to show you that I did that first? All right, so I would get 4 times 4. And I'm probably just going to stay in the same color. Gives me 16. The correct answer was B. Watch this. I'm going to say that. I want this. I want huge. B. All right, guys, hope you learned. Hope it was all review. I'm going to watch this. Hopefully you can hear it. If you have any questions, feel free to email me, mcubic@materdeischool.net. No C's except in school. All right, see if I can get this to work.
Come over here, mouse. Come over here, mouse. Oh, I know what I need to do.
A lot of stuff for Coach Cubic to remember. A lot of stuff. Stop share. And now we're done.
What are you doing? Where's the mouse? There it is. Couldn't find you. Couldn't find you, little man.